to Nkosi's brother's company, Ngapesheya, and Gubi's 85 as well. So what do you make of that?
Well, he did maintain that, it was just an honest interaction because of, he knew Nkosi as a young person. And then he wanted to always as the commission presented that Ngapesheya had significant deficiencies in its bid for the 2.9 billion security tender, where, the leading counsel, questioned why he and Sergeant Nkosi were discussing fixing this shortcoming 6 months after the tender had already closed. So as much as he wanted to indicate that his association with Nkosi was nothing more than, a family upbringing, but then, the questioning was more of a tender, as much as he would like to say that, no, it was just an honest interaction. So then he was grilled on his awareness of the family connection. While he claimed his interaction with Sergeant Nkosi were professional, the commission highlighted, Sakina, that Dlamini actively discussed the progress of Ngapesheya's bid with Nkosi, knowingly full well it belonged to Nkosi's brother.
Yeah, and that repeated contact and Nkosi repeatedly approaching Dlamini allegedly on behalf of his brother's company. But as you say, we look forward to the cross-examination here, Prof, to take this further. But thank you so much for helping us look through what we've heard so far today at the Madlanga Commission. And that, of course, our guest this afternoon, Professor of Criminology and a member of the Council of the Criminological and Victimological Society of Southern Africa, Professor Jacob Mufokeng. It is 12:30 and time now for news headlines, and we have Ondela Mbana. Oh no, it's not Ondela.
Thank you, Sakina. Good afternoon. I'm Cholani Tulo Webe, making headlines. Action SA says the police watchdog IPID has recommended that disciplinary action be taken against 2 senior SAPS members linked to the Phala matter. In its report, IPID identified Major General Wali Rueda and Constable Hulani Rikoto as central figures in alleged misconduct. Suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini has described his relationship with suspended Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi as brotherly. And finally, senior management of the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality in the Eastern Cape will soon appear before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The committee wants management to provide answers to a number of alleged flouted contractual agreements. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, it's a Friday. Let's speak to Victor Mapunga, who's head of research at Old Mutual Wealth and Private Clients, rounding up the week for us. Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon, Sakina. Yeah, in the markets, it's certainly been a very eventful week, which has obviously been dominated by the events in the Middle East. And the main event for this week was certainly the announcement of that ceasefire, which was announced on Tuesday. And since then, we've had a very strong recovery in most global markets. So today our JSE is trading at 118,370, and for the week we're up about 1.5%. If we look at the rand, at the moment it's around 1642. And it's up about 3.5% for the week. We started the week closer to about 1680. So that's been a big move in our currency as well. And that's just speaking to the more positive risk-on environment as a result of that ceasefire that was announced. And at the moment, or the focus now or going forward is certainly on the talks that are happening, between Iran and the US over the weekend, starting this afternoon and extending towards over the weekend, to try and come up with a permanent solution to this conflict. And that's probably going to be what's going to drive the markets, over the coming days. Just my sense of where the markets are at the moment, there seems to be some cautious optimism that we've probably seen the worst in terms of the war, and if there's some form of an agreement that can be reached over the next coming days, that will be positive in terms of bringing that oil price lower, and will also be positive for broader markets. And then just looking ahead, Sakina, I think another key important economic data point is later on this afternoon in the US, we're going to see the latest inflation numbers. And so in the US and also in other economies, we're starting to see some economic data that has been impacted by the sharp rise that we saw in the oil price over the last month or so. And I think that inflation number is going to start giving policymakers the difficult decision to make in terms of what happens with interest rates going forward. The expectation is that most central bankers will probably look through that spike in the oil price, but that's certainly something to watch going forward, Sakina.
Well, thank you so much, Victor Mapunga. Enjoy your weekend. Head of Research at Old Mutual Wealth Private Clients, Victor Mapunga.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
Well, it's a Friday afternoon. Please don't forget to let us know what's on your mind. You can either write to us or send us a voice note. And also not forgetting today, of course, sees the Democratic Alliance. In fact, they've already gotten things underway, and also that conference being covered by the SABC. So you can go onto our various platforms and you'll find a way to link to that. Now, the Public Works and Infrastructure Minister, Dean McPherson, has today carried out an oversight inspection at the illegally occupied Carltonville police station in the Merafong City local municipality here in Gauteng. Now, the once functional police station that was meant to fight crime now stands crumbling and has become a haven for criminals. And this is part of a broader government push. And this, of course, to reclaim hijacked state properties. And now joining us is Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson. Minister, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Thank you, Sakina. Great to be with you this afternoon.
Minister, perhaps let's start by looking at, the specific brief that you received in terms of what happened to this Carltonville police station and surrounding buildings, as I understand as well, how they became illegally occupied.
Well, I must just say it's deeply ironic that a police station that is meant to enforce the law and fight crime is now the subject of crime and unlawfulness, with criminals using it as a staging point, and the buildings being hijacked and illegally rented out. And that happens, Sakina, because we don't look after our public assets adequately, we don't maintain them correctly, and we don't budget for them necessarily. And so it was a deeply disturbing example of what happens when you are reactive instead of proactive when it comes to maintenance. And it violates our very ethos that public assets should be used for public good. So this forms part of our direction that we are wanting to do two things. The first is to reclaim that which has been taken from us. And that obviously can be quite unpopular at times because it means we have to evict people, whether it's from land or buildings, but we continue to do that and we are speeding up that. Secondly, is to ensure that infrastructure like this police station is for the use of the community and to assist them. So it's a long, sordid history behind it. But it started when money that was supposed to maintain it and keep it was redirected into other directions. And so it's a good example of how we should not be doing things.
So money was not being spent. I would imagine the building fell into a state of disrepair. But then, how does it now become illegally occupied? What happened to the current police station? How did that move happen? Because I think, Minister, it's important that we understand exactly how these things happen in detail.
Correct, because what happened is, Sakina, because it wasn't being maintained correctly, they then moved to a rented building. And, far too often I see the issue of rents always being an easy way out. And I've said, another great irony of ours is that we own empty buildings, yet we pay 6 billion rand a year in private leases. And I'm absolutely committed to cutting that down dramatically. And even when I look at the leasing portfolio, I found that some of those leases are 2 or 3 times the market-related pricing. And so I cannot discount the collusion between officials and landlords to try and get government departments out of their own buildings and into leased buildings. Then the maintenance budgets stop, criminals move in, start stripping the building, and this is exactly what we have. It makes no sense that you have a police station in a rented building. There's no security of tenure there. What if the landlord decided to end the lease overnight? Do we put our police officers on the street? And so there are systematic failures that have taken place over 2 decades. And I'm committed to getting to the bottom of this. When I was contacted by the local councillor, I thought it wouldn't be that bad. And when I got there, I couldn't believe what I saw, Sakina, and it is a truly, truly shocking state of affairs.
So in terms of the building that is currently being leased by the police, do you know how much time still remains on that particular lease that they have currently, Minister?
It seems to me to be a revolving lease done by the department. So as a result of today, I'm getting information around the exact project performance or lack of performance, I should say, at the Carltonville police station, the status of that leasing of the station, and why it's taken so long to get this project moving. I was deeply frustrated when officials told me that they had had a meeting 6 weeks ago and found that the bid committee had not prioritized or categorized the project correctly. And I simply said, but why has it taken you 6 weeks to do something about it? It's completely unacceptable that there's no pace to resolve this. So I think also one of the other things that we're going to have to make a decision of is I think that to rebuild something that big is going to be very expensive. I'm not sure if the police have that sort of budget. But then we need to ask ourselves that question: how do we actually then commercialize some of these sites so that we can get some money in to be used as funding and maintenance of our assets? So we're actually going to look at disposing of some of those houses that are being illegally occupied. Of course, we're going to have to seek eviction orders first for those that are there. But also another thing that came to me, Sakina, is that they were paying 500 Rand to individuals who weren't even in the vicinity. I've also received information that it seems that even some of our officials may be involved in allocating houses to people illegally. So I'm also waiting on a report on that. I've demanded that as a consequence of today's visit, and we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what's going on there, but also hold those people accountable and responsible.
I must say, I'm looking forward to perhaps doing a longer interview when you've had time to go and basically look at Gauteng, or maybe even if it's just a specific municipality, Minister, and looking at all the government buildings on your portfolio and who is occupying what and who is leasing what, where and why, because this is a waste of money. If you had a functional building, you leave that to go and occupy a rented space for what good reason? And the citizens of this country are paying for this.
Well, maybe we should go and do it together, Sakina, and we go and actually find out. And I invite you to come and do that with me. And, because it's only by going to see these issues ourselves do we actually comprehend the scale of the problem. And that's why one of our responses has been to push ahead now with the establishment of the property investment vehicle that we mentioned in February through the President's SONA address, because we have to start running as a commercial asset manager that looks after our assets and doesn't allow them to fall into rack and ruin. And so we are committed to that. We're committed to making sure that we reclaim our assets. You will have seen this week that I have been steadfast in dealing with an unlawful land invasion that has taken place over 6 years in the Western Cape, to the point that there are nearly 15 to 20,000 people that have just been allowed to move onto this piece of land without any response from government. So we really have to pull up our socks. We have to confront these challenges head on, and we have to be deliberate and determined about it.
Minister, I'm definitely going to take you up on that, because I think it's a very important piece of work that needs to be done in terms of just trying to normalize things as it were. But thank you so much for your time, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson. Now, as the Minister says right at the onset, the irony of a police station, this is where law enforcement is supposed to be at the core and center of what happens for this community in Carltonville. And you have that being occupied illegally. Someone is collecting rent from people who are occupying that space. And the police, for their part, have left that building that belongs to the state to go and rent elsewhere. Make it make sense. But anyway, we'll leave it there. But I'm definitely going to take the minister up on that offer.
Spar Winner Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products. Like 2-liter Spar Extra Shelf Life Full Cream or Low-Fat Milk for $31.99, save R5. Or 200-gram Baker's Blue Label Murray Biscuits. Buy any two for $33, save R11. Price is valid from 8 till 21 April. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
And just a quick one on some of the other stories that we are watching. SABC News, no doubt, will be reporting back on. There's Deputy President Paul Mashatile, who's in Tabazimbi, where he's handing over title deeds to beneficiaries in that area. But also underway right now is an ANC-NEC meeting with a special focus on the evolving relationship of the African National Congress with the South African Communist Party. The Secretary General of the ANC, Mbalula, currently addressing the media.
There are countries who go to elections and parties that are in power never accept to relinquish power. But our democracy and our checks and balances and our constitution does not allow that. You are a media here. Now, you enjoy freedom of expression. Nobody is in jail here. You write horrible things and about everybody and anyone, including the president, but there's nobody's in jail. That's democracy. So people must understand what they are asking for. If they are asking for a military junta, that you are told to sleep at 7 o'clock and not to be in the street. What about those who love Mapiano? Mauporiza will fade, and so on, and so on. So it is the fruits of democracy, and so on. So for democracy to be vibrant, it means it has got those who win and opponents. So that's where we are. So we believe our democracy is quite vibrant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. I'm very certain that we can't do the second round. I think we are satisfied with the type and the number of questions that were asked. So we stay adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Well, I guess we tapped into that slightly late, didn't quite hear what the resolution was, but no doubt our reporters there will bring us up to speed with what was said there at that ANC NEC meeting briefing, and of course the focus on, amongst other things, that relationship of the ANC and the SACP, and of course what that means ultimately for the continued health of the tripartite alliance. Now, that deteriorating relationship will be on the agenda, as we understand, come this National Executive Committee meeting. And here's Ntebo Mokobo, who's there. And Ntebo, thanks so much for joining us as quickly as you have, seeing that that briefing has just adjourned. But just bring us up to speed. We got into it a bit late, but what was the crux of that briefing?
briefing, good afternoon, Sakina, and good afternoon to the listeners. The briefing mainly was to come and talk about the ANC embarking on a process for the councillor candidate and mayoral candidates for the ANC during the upcoming local government elections. So there are clear guidelines in terms of what is going to happen. For instance, you would recall, Sakina, that in the past, the ANC went to a community, society to say they want communities to bring or to come up with names that would be equal to the task. But this time around, they seem to have upped the tempo in terms of extending or expanding that beyond councillors, including even mayoral candidates. 22 secondary cities and 8 metros. They are saying that they are going to be allowing communities to come up with names of people who are competent, who've got the relevant skills, who are appealing in society. I even ask whether is this an admission on the part of the ANC to say they don't have people who would be equal to the task. That is why they even said they are going to be headhunting people with relevant skills, people who are appealing, people who know how to do the job, as opposed to just getting ANC members. And this could ultimately lead to, for instance, if you are a regional chairperson in one municipality or in one area, you won't be you won't even qualify to become a mayor, because then they would be headhunting people, and communities will also be bringing their own people. So some municipalities, for instance, some metros, even some of the 22 secondary cities, will end up having people who are not even ANC members, because they will be hunting those people with relevant skills. Sakina.
Which is a very, very interesting proposition, Ntebo, but also given the state of the tripartite alliance, especially that seemingly deteriorating relationship with the SACP. What did Mbalula have to say about that?
Well, he said, they've engaged the SACP before the resolution was adopted that the SACP will contest elections independently. Even after that resolution, they engaged the SACP. They couldn't convince them. Now the question is what needs to be done. What has to be done is that they're saying the special NEC that is sitting today is going to discuss that, and that would be discussing how is the ANC going to relate with the SACP when they contest for elections in the same pool or in the same pond. And that on its own will ultimately mean that it means at some point they will have to sever ties with the SACP, because they won't be able to work with people who are contesting them and seeing themselves as comrades. For instance, they are saying that there are people who've got dual membership. Now they are busy trying to put together a team of people who are going to be contesting these elections. If they happen to see someone who's competent in the SACP and say, we're going to identify this person to become our mayor, and this person says, no, I'm going to contest for the SACP, where does that leave the ANC? That's what they are discussing. And after that, after this meeting, a decision would be taken around 7 o'clock when the meeting ends, because it's starting at 2, and that decision will then be communicated to the media. The media will be briefed around that, and of course from there they will go to the SACP to brief them that this is the decision that they've taken, and then they're going to again abreast their rank and file membership in terms of structures, in terms of how are they going to relate with the SACP when they meet on the ground.
Which is going to be interesting, because we are effectively already in campaign mode, given that the IEC had announced, voter registration dates, at least the first one already. So, at some point later this year, we will be going to the polls. But that being said, this is, of course, a serious matter about the SACP members, especially those who hold dual membership within the party. Did he say anything about having had discussions with the SACP about these particular matters? Because one would imagine once that resolution is taken later, there will possibly be some fallout.
Yes, indeed. When the meeting starts this afternoon, they're going to discuss that. And after the meeting, when the outcomes have been reached, then they will go to the SACP to communicate that with the SACP, that in terms of people who are also ANC members. But you recall the dual membership is something that was adopted by a conference resolution of the ANC long time ago.
Yes.
So if they were to do away with that dual membership, The conference has to decide on that. It's a conference resolution. It can only be overturned by a Congress. So the ANC conference will have to decide on that at some point in 2027 when they meet, in terms of how are they going to deal with this dual membership. And it would be interesting really to see if the conference goes and say, we don't want people who are ANC and SACP members, because you would recall, this this ANC relations started in 1921 when the SACP was formed over 100 years ago. Already they saw eye to eye in terms of where to take the country to. So if this ANC leadership under the current NEC is going to do away with the ANC resolution of having this SACP and ANC working together under the alliance, it would be historic. You would recall, Sakina, that under this NEC, the ANC, or under the leadership of President Ramaphosa, the ANC fired its own Secretary General, fired its own former president, Jacob Zuma and Ace Mahashule. And now the alliance is in a very dicey situation. So it will be a historic, really, a presidency of the ANC leadership under President Ramaphosa, and of course, even the current NEC. There are a number of things that happened. Whether they are good for the ANC, your case is as good as mine.
It's going to be very interesting, Tebo. You think of someone like Buti Manamela and the position that he holds within the SACP, but also and that pertaining to elections that are upcoming, and then being a minister as well. What would that mean for someone like him? It's really going to be interesting. But it's a long day for you, Ntebo. We'll leave it there. Try and get as much rest as you can. And of course, we'll be listening and watching tonight for the outcome, as you have indicated. Ntebo Mokobo is SABC News senior reporter.
We're delving deeper into the world of mining and engineering. From the Coalface with Martin Creamer.
Well, it's that time again on a Friday when Update at Noon presents another update from the Coalface with Martin Creamer, publishing editor of Engineering News and Mining Weekly. Good afternoon, Martin.
Good afternoon, Sakina.
Martin, South Africa this week spelled out its green hydrogen development plans to a United Nations organization.
This was fantastic because you've got a crisis in the Middle East. It's around energy, and the United Nations organization that deals with industrial development called for an immediate response. And there were 70 countries. And the one that performed the best by far, I can tell you, was South Africa. I think Rebecca Masarumela, she really knows her story. And the way she was spelling out that, in 2009, we sat here without any renewable energy. And she said, look at the renewable energy we've got now. She says, that's why, without a doubt, we can do the green hydrogen. And, I thought it was really good because we know that during the last crisis, we saw Europe, or France particularly, go to nuclear energy. And I think now is the time to switch to this clean energy, which we should have done a long time ago, green energy. And what Rebecca was spelling out was how she deals, with first movers. And she gets them to answer a whole lot of questions so that they start understanding what the implications are. And another point, she said next week she'll be in Rotterdam with the minister to discuss this. And she thanked the Germans, she thanked the Hollanders, she thanked everybody for the funding that she's got. And she says some of it is, of course, for green hydrogen, but she knows that she'd like to get the operational part of it cheaper, as well as doing the whole thing cheaper. And she's sure if they work together, we can do this. But one thing that was so clear, the people in the north said, we can't do this. We know the people in the south can supply us with this, and we're ready to do a partnership.
Oh, interesting. South Africa this week, Martin, also began generating more sun and wind energy for its platinum, iron ore and diamond mines.
This is incredible. The mines are switching on renewable power like you can't believe, every month, every week, in fact. So we had, this tie-up between Anglo-American and EDF. They've got a joint venture called Envusa. And Envusa reported again this week that they'd come through with another 140 megawatts, this time of wind energy. And this is for the platinum group metal mine, Valterra, and also for the iron ore mine, Kumba, and also for the diamond mine in De Beers, Venetia. But that came shortly after 240 megawatts of solar power came from Mooiplaats. And this is what you're seeing all the time. It's wind and sun coming through. And that's what the Europeans were saying. We've got this wind, we've got the sun, we've got the water, we've got the land, we've got everything you need to really go one step further with the green hydrogen. But then we also saw Richards Bay Minerals coming through with 148 megawatts of solar. So the solar comes from Limpopo to KwaZulu-Natal. And they are targeting a lot more as well. So both of them are targeting like over the 500 megawatt mark, and they're getting there fast. They do back-to-back movements that just seem to move very, very fast with the renewable energy.
And finally, Martin, a laxity has resulted in South Africa falling far behind on the green hydrogen front.
Yes, I can recollect. It was 2011. I was in Durban. Up popped Anglo-American CEO of the time, Cynthia Carroll. She said, the window is wide open for hydrogen. We can create hundreds and thousands of jobs. Do you understand? And there, present at the time, was our deputy president, Kgalema Motlanthe. I can remember he was involved. And there was a company also from Canada called Ballard. And we saw what Ballard was doing. And we thought, well, this is an ideal opportunity to now work with them. And so, the leadership in South Africa changed. You had Kgalema Motlanthe, he became a president for a while, but then Jacob Zuma took over. And instead of our departments sort of continuing with this motion that had been set in play, it just seemed to fall away. And ministries changed and all sorts of things like that. But if you look at Ballard, that company from Canada that was with us there, if we had just kept pace with them, some South African link, they are so far ahead. I mean, they've got green hydrogen on buses, trucks, ships, planes, everything. Just you think of it. And this is what hydrogen can do. It can have green cement, green steel, green everything. And it can also give you the mobility. And it can give you the data center. It can give you everything. So people are starting to realize that. And Cynthia Carroll told us, 2011, go for this. And she had a whole lot of research. But because of change of leadership and laxity, we lost out.
Well, on that not too great note, we'll leave it. Thanks so much, Martin Creamer. Martin will be back with another edition of At the Coalface, same time next Friday. And that brings us neatly up to 1 o'clock. Thanks so much to the production team for putting it together. Thanks to everyone who listened in this afternoon. Please be safe, have a fabulous weekend. And don't forget, we've got the DA elective conference underway. And Ntebo Moku was at that ANC-NEC meeting. So stay tuned and we'll bring you up to speed with that and so much more. But it's time now for your latest news with Jwalane Tulongwepe. And from me, take care.
Top stories: Asawa TMPD deputy chief admits to security tender corruption, and Trump criticizes Iran's handling of the Hormuz Strait. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulo Webe. Suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini has dropped a bombshell at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. He has confirmed that suspended Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi had approached him to seek assistance with tender documents relating to his brother's security company. Evidence before the Commission has revealed that Nkosi allegedly conspired with Dlamini and suspended CFO Gareth Mnisi to help Nkosi's brother secure the tender. The security company is one of three that are under the spotlight for alleged tender rigging. Dlamini has detailed his links to Nkosi as advocate Sandile Khumalo leads his evidence.
Did you know that Mr. Beki Nkosi is the owner or has interest in Ngapesheya?
Yes, Commissioner. Sergeant Nkosi approached me to assist him as I indicated earlier on.
Assist with what?
With tender document.
For Ngapesheya?
Yes.
And he told you that it's his brother's company?
Yes.
Disciplinary action will be taken against 2 senior SAPS members linked to the Phala matter. Action SA says that's according to the police watchdog IPID's report, which was declassified in February. IPID has identified Major General Wally Rueda and Constable Hulani Rikoto as central figures in alleged misconduct. It has found evidence that the theft at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm in February 2020 was not reported through official police channels. Investigators say state resources were used to conduct an unauthorized investigation. Action SA's Michael Beaumont.
So what the report found is that Major General Wally Rueda and members of the protection unit of the President's office operated outside of the law in conducting an investigation. It was not disclosed to the National Police Commissioner, and it was an unauthorized, unlawful investigation. It indicates that they interrogated suspects without giving them their constitutional rights as suspects defined in our Constitution. And critically, they operated by falsifying documents to create the impression that they were doing the ordinary work of the Presidential Protection Unit, when in fact they were conducting an unlawful investigation.
Legal analyst Abigail Ngobeni says the two Ndimande brothers' decision to abandon their bail application could speed up their case. The brothers are linked to the murder of rapper Keenan aka Forbes and his friend Tebello Tibbs Motswane. They were arrested in Eswatini last year and later extradited to South Africa. The brothers are currently being held at the Ebongweni Super Maximum Correctional Facility in Kokstad in KwaZulu-Natal. There are 5 other accused in the case. Ngobeni explains.
So that is hope enough that if things move swifter, they may be joining the 5 in the High Court before the date of the trial. The processes in the High Court, I'm told that they are in the process of pre-trial as well as the judicial case management. And if indeed they are transferred to the High Court sooner in next week, we will see the activities unfolding in a manner that the trial proceeds better with the 7 combined together other than having them tried separately.
The Mpumalanga Education Department has dismissed a school principal after finding him guilty of engaging in a sexual relationship with learners in Akonhoek in the north of Bushbuckridge. The department's spokesperson, Gerald Sambo, says the principal was placed on precautionary suspension after the allegations surfaced. Sambo says the principal was subjected to a fair disciplinary process.
The department remains committed to safeguarding the well-being and the safety of every learner in its care. It does not tolerate any conduct that undermines learners' ability to realize their full potential. These decisions mark an important step in strengthening accountability and reinforces our zero-tolerance stance on any form of abuse or exploitation of learners. Such behavior is a profound breach of trust and fundamentally erodes the integrity of the teaching profession.
U.S. President Donald Trump has criticized Iran's handling of the Hormuz Strait, which he says is a key part of the temporary ceasefire agreement between Washington and Tehran. In a series of posts, Trump says Iran is doing a very poor job in managing the waterway through which 20% of the world's oil passes. Earlier, Iran's supreme leader said management of the strait was entering a new phase. The BBC's Danielle De Simon reports.
Mr. Trump, in late-night social media posts, said Iran was failing to keep to the ceasefire agreement by doing a very poor job of letting oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Some would say Iran was being dishonourable, he added, and warned Iran against charging ships transit fees. In a statement read on Iranian state TV, the country's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, was quoted saying he reserved the right to retribution for US-Israeli attacks on his country and its allies, implying Hezbollah in Lebanon, which Israel and the US claims isn't covered by the ceasefire. And there were also tensions between Pakistan and Israel after Pakistan's defense minister posted online saying Israel is a curse on humanity.
Recapping the top story, the SAWA suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini has dropped a bombshell at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. He has confirmed that suspended Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi had approached him to seek assistance with tender documents relating to his brother's security company. For SAFM News, I'm Jolani Tulo Wepe.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I mean, we thought we'd begin the show with a legend this afternoon, bringing you a little bit of Shaka Khan. If I'm not mistaken, this was just Shaka Khan being Shaka Khan, not Shaka Khan as a member of Rufus. I hope you loved the song. Ain't Nobody is the name of this iconic one. And it actually takes me back to my first show in my first year in SAFM because I used the instrumental as part of the show intro. But it takes us back to around 1983 when it was first released through Warner Bros. And it became one of 4 soundtracks that were included in the live album Stomping at the Savoy. Ain't Nobody by Rufus and Shaka Khan. 10 past 1 o'clock rather, my apologies, has just gone. Thank you so much for sticking around and being a part of our conversation this afternoon. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. We've got a jam-packed full show today. We're going to be catching up with Uspahle Mota live from the Madlanga Commission, and we're going to find out what transpired for day 88. They've wrapped a little bit earlier today because the witness had a long-standing commitment that he needed to get to. We'll find out more about that as well. Joining us in studio is a friend of the show, Artistic Director of the Market Theatre Foundation, and we're reflecting back on 50 years of the Market Theatre, which are going to be marked this year in 2026. And then on the other side of 2 o'clock, as per usual on a Friday, we're going to catch up with Usiwela Langeni, co-founder of Book Circle Capital and author of Making Friends with Feelings. And we're going to find out what is on the agenda in terms of some of your book titles this week. Here's a question for you. What is that one book that you will never give away, or that one book that you'll never, ever, ever borrow to anybody? And we'd love to know why. We all have those kinds of attachments to some of the literature that we keep in our homes. So we'd love to know from you. What is that one book that you'll never, ever give away, or that you'll never borrow to anybody? And what are your reasons? 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. A quick pause and then we come right back.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an ABSA Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. ABSA Private Banking customers can invest from just 1 rand. Open via the ABSA Banking app, a branch, a private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
This Freedom Month, we reflect, we remember, and we celebrate how far we've come. 30 years into democracy, South Africa continues to shape a future grounded in justice, equality, and opportunity for all, under the theme Freedom and the Rule of Law. 30 years of democratic citizenship. SAFM will bring you all things freedom, the voices, the stories, and the conversations that matter. Join us as we honor the journey and explore what freedom means today. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, a quick catch-up with Uspahle Mota, SABC news reporter, for the latest from the Madlanga Commission. And, of course, we saw suspended Tshwane Metro Police Deputy Chief Umashe Dlamini was on the witness stand today. But that Commission had to adjourn a little bit early because apparently he is running the Two Oceans Marathon in Cape Town, and presumably he had a flight to catch. Uspahle Mota, how are you doing today?
Good afternoon to you, Bridget, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I mean, let's get to the crux of it. Just a quick context reminder as to Umashe Dlamini and how he fits in to what we've heard at the Madlanga Commission over the last 88 days.
Yes, Bridget, if you remember, through the testimony of Fani Ngozi, was that it was alleged that Sergeant Fani Ngozi, as well as Umashe Dlamini, and CFO Gareth Mnisi were sort of rigging tenders and choosing whichever one that was favorable to qualify for this security tender, and that's how his name came up. And we saw with WhatsApp messages between the trio, where we saw that Umashi Dlamini was communicating with the CFO through Sergeant Fanny Ngozi, even though Sergeant Fanny Ngozi was not employed by the city of Tshwane. And that is one of the questions that he was asked as to why did he feel the need to communicate certain information with the CFO through Sergeant Ngozi, and he claims that he didn't have the CFO's numbers, which obviously the commission did not buy. But at the center of the allegations is that, there was Gubi's 85 Solutions as well as Ngapesheya, which is linked to Sergeant Ngozi's brother. And these are the security companies that they believe have unduly benefited through this alleged rigging. Benefited from the security tender. So that is how he's involved, but he's obviously denied all the allegations that have been leveled against him at the commission.
Absolutely. And much of the sort of recurring theme with some of these witnesses at the commission is the acknowledgement that, yes, I know somebody and I have a relationship with them, and it is a relationship of significance. We regard each other as brothers, as father and son, but I had nothing to do with any of the processes, because this morning he went to great lengths to explain the relationship that he had with Fanny Ngozi, which dates back 30 years somewhat, when they were kids, so much so that their families are intertwined in all kinds of matters and issues of celebration and ceremony.
No, definitely. I mean, he describes his relationship with, Sergeant Fanny Ngozi as brotherly, and it spans obviously over 30 years. And we can tell that they are very close. I mean, he even knows Sergeant Ngozi's family, including his brother Begi, who has also been implicated in these alleged corruption allegations at the Matlanga Commission. And he even goes as far as to say that when Sergeant Ngozi was, went to go and pay Lobola, he was there, as part of the people who was leading that delegation. So it just shows just how deeply entrenched and just how close both of the families are. And I mean, at one point, he's even admitting that, Begi Ngozi, who's the brother to Sergeant Fanny Ngozi, he actually assisted with those tender documents. So you can just tell that, I mean, he's obviously implicated, and he's proven why he is implicated, and even conceded to some of the allegations that were put before the Matlanga Commission, and that he did somehow help Begi Ngozi with these tender documents when he had no reason to. And obviously this goes against any regulations or tender requirements that are at the municipality.
I mean, when it comes to that, though, he corrected to say he was asked to help with a tender document application, but because he felt a conflict of interest, he then recommended that Begi Ngozi contact another individual who is well versed on the processes and procedures of tendering. But he himself, he says, did not actually help. He just connected him to someone else.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, that is what the commission will be seized with. I mean, even with the WhatsApp messages that were at the Matlanga Commission, I mean, they could be interpreted differently, because even Sergeant Ngozi admitting that he had asked him to specifically help with the tender documents, whether or not he forwarded the request to somebody else, I would like to think is irrelevant, because ultimately he's using his position within the municipality to help somebody, get closer to the tender document. So I don't think his explanation is neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is he was asked to intervene and help with a certain tender documents that some of us don't even have the privilege to, approach him with. So I don't think his explanation in that regard would really hold any water with the commissioners.
Yeah. Smatley, as we begin to wind it down, it's reported that Gubi's 85 Solutions wants to tell their side of the story at the commission?
Yes, that is a story that has emerged in the fact that they have approached the Matlanga Commission. And as you know, it has been proven through evidence that they got the lion's share of this controversial security company. So, I mean, those are the things that I guess Jeremy Michaels would have to brief us on, and how that process would actually, follow. But I would like to think that their side of the story, because they got such a huge share from this multi-million rands security tender, it would be good for them to come and sort of present their side of the story. But fact of the matter is the fact that they were allocated some of these sites more than any other company that was, providing services to the city. I mean, I think they got over 42 sites, if I'm not mistaken, while other companies did not even receive a site from the city of Tshwane to provide these ad hoc guarding services. So I think it would be great for them to present their side of the story, but I think the evidence against them is really, really,
overwhelming.
It is overwhelming and controversial, to say the least.
Smash Mota, we'll leave it there for this afternoon. I know that testimony was not finished because the witness had these plans that had been long-standing to be in Cape Town. And also on Monday, he can't appear because he'll be in physical recovery. But we'll catch up with you next week. That was SABC News reporter Smash Mota. 1:20 o'clock on the Full Circle here with myself, Bridget Masinga. A quick pause. Then we come back and we shift gears just a little bit. We get into stages, pages, screens and more, and we look at 50 years of the Market Theatre that is being marked this year in 2026.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on the Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, we're shifting focus a little bit to something equally as important, and we're marking 50 years of the Market Theatre this year. We're joined by Artistic Director of the Market Theatre Foundation, Greg Holman. Yeah, you know where my brain wanted to go. Florence Maseve also joins us on the line, and Florence needs no introduction, award-winning actress, producer, and the chairperson of the Market Theatre Foundation Council. Let's start with you, Greg. How are you?
I'm very good, Bridget. It's lovely to be here and
Thank
to
you.
be seeing you on this Friday afternoon.
I mean, thank you for coming. I like it. We always talk on the phone, so I appreciate the fact that you made the effort to come out here, which means you weren't that busy today.
Oh, it's been a very busy time, but in the best possible way. And we're only a stone's throw away from the studios, so
Yeah.
it was nice to make the journey down the road.
Fantastic. I mean, let's reflect on the Market Theatre celebrating 50 years of storytelling this year. I know your journey with them has started in recent years, but let's just rewind back on those 5 decades.
Yes, I mean, the Market Theatre is a remarkable space that grew in varying directions and ways, starting on the 19th of June, 1976. So 3 days after the youth uprising began in Soweto.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways that event bound the Market Theatre, the cultural and political life of the country. And what we're trying to do in our 50th year is acknowledge as best we can the work and the people that have made the building and the theatre what it is, and it's now a world-renowned brand that is highly regarded and respected, largely through the work that it did, particularly in the 80s. But it is also an opportunity for us to set the tone for the next 50 years. So we leaning on the great legacy that the space has. And we have just announced a 50th year program that acknowledges some of the work done, but also, as I say, sets a tone for the next 50. And also acknowledges a number of other national milestones other than Youth Day on June 16th.
Yeah.
There's a number of milestones this year. It's the 70th year of the Women's March. It's the 140th year of Johannesburg. It's the 30th year of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So there's a number of really big, important commemorative events across the year, and we've tried to create a program of productions that in some way allows us to put a spotlight on all of that while celebrating our 50th year.
Absolutely. It's fascinating the fact that at the height of the uprisings of 76, this iconic theatre was simultaneously opening its doors. Because I think for me, it speaks to the thing that we sometimes forget. And I think a lot of artists of yesteryear, yes, there was that political conscientizing. Yes, there was that, activism that was happening. But parallel to that also, there was just the mundane rhythm of life where the ordinary had to happen, backdropped by this extraordinary chaotic environment that was transpiring in South Africa.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to the production that started rehearsals in Cape Town on Tuesday that we are co-producing with the Baxter Theatre. It's called Rise 76, the story of June 16th. And it's a beautiful reflection on what the events leading up to that day and immediately afterwards were like for the people that were directly involved in the event, from the school kids. They were teenagers. In fact, some of them were even younger. But also the doctors, the nurses, the mothers, the fathers, the school teachers. And so we've commissioned a play in partnership with the Baxter Theatre that's called Rise 76. As I said, it started rehearsals in Cape Town on Tuesday. It opens in Cape Town in May, and then is with us for Youth Month in June.
Wonderful. I'm not forgetting you, Aus Florence. Aus Florence Masebe is on the line, award-winning actress, producer, and chairperson of the Market Theatre Foundation Council, as appointed by the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture to chair the council. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me over. And hello, Greg.
Hello, Florence. Lovely to hear your voice.
Thank you for the time. I mean, let's reflect with you, because you've been part and parcel of South African storytelling, whether on theatre, whether on television or film. You've been intimately interwoven into the history pages of this country. When you reflect back on the Market Theatre, the last however many decades that you've been in the industry, and the position that it holds in South African history, in archiving our stories, and as Greg says, also charting a way forward.
Thanks, Bridget. When you speak of South African art, and you speak of South African theatre, and you speak further about anybody who's been taught South African theatre, they will tell you, you do not speak theatre in the era of the influence of the Market Theatre in 1 or 2 pages. You've got to really dig deep. For myself, as a young person, it's a place that influenced my choices to go and study the craft of drama. And for other people, for the country, it's the place where fearless artists came together to tell the stories that others were uncomfortable to touch. And when we look back at the 50 years, we look back at how it helped to shape the narrative and how it gave the arts a voice in playing a role to give us the democracy we enjoy today. Artists were fighters. Artists fought, sometimes physically, but many times with their craft, and at the Market Theatre, it was done on the stage.
I want us to just take a quick break here for the headline news. We'll come back on the other side and continue this conversation that reflects on the 50 years of the Market Theatre, past, present, and future.
Thanks, Bridget. Good afternoon. Making headlines. The Madlaga Commission of Inquiry says suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini will return to testify before it at a later date. The Commission has adjourned its hearings in Pretoria. The 10 suspected illegal miners arrested in Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga are appearing in the Graskop Magistrates Court. The Zamazamas, who are illegal migrants, were found in possession of gold-bearing material and tools used for illicit mining. And finally, government is commemorating the 33rd anniversary of the assassination of struggle icon Chris Hani in Kwaggafontein in Mpumalanga. Hani was shot dead outside his home in Dawn Park in Boksburg on April the 10th in 1993. I will have details on these and other stories at 2 o'clock.
Stages, pages, screens and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we journey back over the last 50 years of the market, we're joined by Artistic Director of the Market Theatre Foundation, Greg Homan joins us, and Florence Masebe also joins us in the conversation, award-winning South African actress and chairperson of the Market Theatre Foundation Council. I also want to touch, and I know, Greg, we've spoken about this, I think it was last year as a precursor and anticipating this year. Just touching back on one or two of the iconic moments that live in the 50-year history of the Market Theatre that stand out for you. And I think maybe Sis Flo, you could use the leeway, the airtime, to also just think of maybe a production either you were involved in or one that really just inspired you over the 50 years.
Yeah, so I'll dive in. I mean, a key moment has to be the arrival of Woza Albert in 1981 as a landmark production. I'm often asked when I wear my hat as an academic, what is the sort of quintessential South African play? And in my view, it has to be Woza Albert. It created a style leaning heavily in the influence of Gibson Kente. It made the names of Bongweni Ngema, who went on to do, Sarafina with us and became a huge figure and force within the cultural sector. And obviously there was Percy Mtwa involved, and Barney Simon was at the heart of it as well, working as the artistic director. So I would say Woza Albert in 81 is a big moment. I would say 86 is a remarkable year because in 86 alone you have Mklopez, Have You Seen Zandile, you have arriving on stage, you have Sapphire Town, you have Born in the RSA and Black Dog in Jinyama, you have You Strike the Woman, You Strike the Rock. And that's just 1 year. So 86 is a really important year, and a really important connection to the country in that the country was in and out of a state of emergency. So we see this relationship ongoing at the Market Theatre between when the country is in a kind of crisis, theatre is able to express something, and particularly the Market Theatre has been able to express something and give a voice to the difficulties, the complexity, the challenges that we face as a country. More recently, Nothing But the Truth by John Carney in the early 2000s was important work that was one of the first real post-apartheid plays that helped us grapple with the notion of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and what that was about, and how individual ordinary people were impacted in the relationship to truth and memory and all of that. And so there's a series of moments, and then there's a huge number of figures, some of which I've named, but there's a long list of amazing people, not only actors, not only writers, not only directors, but stage managers, technicians, audience development people, producers, and so on, that have really built the space. And I think if you chart the trajectory across the 50 years, what you're really looking at is a series of really well-considered choices that put the Market Theatre on the right side of history.
I mean, 86 alone, it seems like, a landmark of a year, just in J. A whole thesis can be written on that, because I also think it speaks, and I don't know, I'm not a thespian at all, but I think it speaks to the sense of, people always talk about protest theatre, and as you allude, that voice that's given to society at particular times, and whether or not that still is resonant today as it was back then. And in my amateur lens, 86 seems to have been that year where it reached that crescendo of things are happening, and we need to be seen and we need to be heard, and this is the vehicle that we're going to use.
Yeah, and Barney Simon, the first artistic director of the Market Theatre, must probably put it best in that he spoke about theatre as the newspaper of the day, and particularly in the 80s when censorship was so strong under apartheid. The Market Theatre held its ground as a completely open, non-racial space where the stories of South Africans could be told. And that's the legacy that actually I'm trying to champion and have been championing since I've been at the Market Theatre the last 3 years, is that it's the home of the South African story, and we're the place where we tell South African stories in as authentic and as diverse a way as we possibly can. I used to love, under Malcolm Perkey, the artistic director too before me, he had a tagline at the time, which was the Market Theatre's tagline, which was "Come Learn South African." And I think that also captures the spirit of what the Market Theatre really is about.
Absolutely. Sis Flo, from your perspective?
So from my perspective, I think we can't celebrate 50 years of the market without celebrating the people associated with the market. And it's very important. Greg already mentioned a figure like Mbongeni Ngema, who went on to give us quite a number of successful theatre titles. I kind of remember, what year did he do the Zulu, the musical, at the market? Might have been just as we were dealing with issues of the new millennium. December, as we were going to celebrate the Happy New Year 2000, and we were talking Y2K, you had the Zulu opening with a song that said something about in this new millennium. So theatre is there as we move from one to the next. Mentioning 1986, it had been 10 years since the June 16 uprising and 10 years since the start, the opening of the Market Theatre. So there is this twin thing that says when the countries are happy, you will get happy at the market. And when the country is hurting, you will get a reflection of the country hurting on stage at the Market Theatre. And, through the works that Greg and the team managed to curate and put there, we're able to find new works, but also new figures to associate with the market. So in the past, we take so much pride in the names he mentioned. Pranam Shope, I would add you, and then we have the John Kanis. You've had over the years the younger generation coming through. Then you had, I remember the pride with which I watched Mutabi Chelele at the Market Theatre, growing and watching you, and Tati Mushweshwe, watching other people. I was remembering the great Dambi Sakente the other day and going, oh, the people we have lost as well that we associate with the market are quite a number of big names. So it's going to be a time of reflecting on the amazing artists that have walked through the doors of the market, whether on stage or behind the scenes, building sets, working the wardrobe, being front of house, all the characters that are associated with the Market Theatre itself. But beyond that, the Market Theatre as a foundation and how it has evolved over the years to become more than just the building that is the theatre.
As we sort of have this conversation, the president is on the TV, and it just had me thinking about, we've had glimpses of moments in the last maybe 10 years in South Africa. We've had glimpses of moments where artistic expression, that freedom of speech, I wouldn't say came under threat, but definitely came under question. Where folks really felt a strong sense of this should not be expressed like this, whether it was visual arts or a production, it violates something in them. How important is it for a space like the market to maintain that essence, to still open its doors for the kind of content that might antagonize and agitate a particular sector of the country, but it is a vital conversation that still needs to be had for the evolution of South Africa?
Yeah, I think it's critical. It's crucial, and we have to champion that, and we have to make sure that when we program and make programmatic choices, that we're not only putting on the work that we think is right and appropriate, but we need the diversity of voices. 2 years ago, we staged The Brothers Number One in a weekend special, which was a play that reflected on the state capture years and articulated that in a way that also connected it to the involvement of Bell Pottinger, which was a company in the UK that collapsed because they were later found out to have created racial conflict in South Africa and fueled racial conflict in South Africa. So the play reflected on that. It was critical in many ways of our ruling party, and we were using the funds that we get from the state coffers to put on the play. And we had no backlash from them. There's an arm's length sort of relationship, and it's important that we do that work. At the same time, we were creating a work around Winnie Mandela, and we were also creating other work that reflected on our democracy in other ways. So it's a conversation, and because we have 3 different venues, part of the programmatic choices is about how do we put work alongside each other that contradicts each other, that creates conversation, and that really fuels and builds the democratic life that we want to live in South Africa.
We're going to hit a quick pause, perfectly timed there by Greg. It's just gone 20 to 2 o'clock. A quick pause. We'll be back on the other side.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an ABSA Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. ABSA Private Banking customers can invest from just R1. Open via the ABSA Banking app, a branch, a private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Stages, pages, screens, and more on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we begin to wind down on our conversation, looking at 50 years of the Market Theatre. Sis Flo, let's look into the future. Let's look into the next 50 and the immediate for the Market Theatre.
So I just said that as we celebrate 50 years, we look into how the Market Theatre has had this evolution that brought other parts of it into the foundation, more than just the Market Theatre, the building, and the theatre that we're celebrating 50 years of. Over the years, it inherited and adopted beautiful babies and gave birth to some of them itself. The Market Theatre Workshop is going to be a very photo workshop. It's a very important part of the celebration of the 50, because when we want the picture that shows what the Market Theatre is, we don't have to go too far within our own archives. It's in the work that the Market Photo Workshop was able to do over the years. We can celebrate that as well, and then remind that the market really has a way of weaving a South African's life from childhood with the programs of the Windy Row to the young person that's finding themselves as an artist with the work at the Market Theatre Laboratory, and then moving into the main stages of the Market Theatre itself. So we are going to celebrate every facet of who we are. We are going to celebrate the children at the Windy Brow. We are going to celebrate the young people that keep South African stories alive and cook new stories that end up graduating to the big stage of the John Zani Theatre at the market, doing that from the laboratory. And we're going to celebrate the legends that have created the Market Theatre. Doing all of that, we then want to say, let us move forward with greater artistic freedom, greater artistic integrity, and continue to own our space as the home of the South African story.
Absolutely. Speaking of owning that space in the home of the South African story, strategically placed within inner Johannesburg communities, how do we continue to bring those communities along for the next couple of decades of the journey of the market and, of course, all its entities?
Yeah, I mean, it's an important question, and we have got a few things in the planning in terms of engaging more, not only with Newtown, which I think we engage with really well. I mean, we're a key part of Newtown, and we've been a champion of the cultural life of the city, and have made Newtown as a cultural precinct what it is, alongside partners like Nikki's Oasis that sits nearby, and at times it was Kippy's Jazz Club, and the Yard of Ale, and all kinds of other things. But also more recently, the communities that live closer to us, because the areas become more residential, and so there are a number of young families, children, and so on. So we've got activities across the year that is trying to connect and engage with that. And then also we're also want to make sure that the year is not only about celebrating and doing work within our building, but also taking our work out to other spaces. So that means taking work out to other parts of the city, other parts of the province, other parts of the country, and other parts of the world. And we've got a program that kind of holistically captures all of those in varying parts, so that we're not only expecting people to make the journey to us, although 62,000 people have made the journey to us in the last 12 months, and we're very pleased to be able to celebrate that number. We welcome people coming to us, but we also want to be taking work to people.
Absolutely. Well, I think I said it to you last year, Greg, and I'll say it to you again. Congratulations to you and the team. Arriving at this milestone is no easy feat at all. And hopefully we continue to see South African stories reflected back at us through this great institution and the other institutions that feed into it. Ausflo, we appreciate the time. That was Greg Homan, who's the Artistic Director of the Market Theatre Foundation, and Florence Masebe, award-winning actress and chairperson of the Market Theatre Foundation Council. And you can track all the activities and festivities that they have planned for the year by simply tapping into all of their digital handles. At the Market Theatre is where you'll find them. Greg Homan, thank you for coming. You are a rock star.
Thank you, Bridget.
A quick pause, and then we come back on the other side and we talk about another space that's been activated. Main Street Sundays is bringing Joburg to the Walkable Network action.
This Freedom Month, we reflect, we remember, and we celebrate how far we've come. 30 years into democracy, South Africa continues to shape a future grounded in justice, equality, and opportunity for all, under the theme Freedom and the Rule of Law. 30 years of democratic citizenship. SAFM will bring you all things freedom, the voices, the stories, and the conversations that matter. Join us as we honor the journey and explore what freedom means today. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Kathy Mutlatana on the National Briefing.
Professor Pichana, just on this issue of our own consciousness as a society, how do you think we can go about raising it or increasing it, very briefly?
I really do believe that we need this national dialogue that doesn't seem to happen. These days, the level of trust about public institutions is way down, whether it's judges, whether it's teachers, or whether it's nurses, whether it's politicians. South Africans no longer trust public representatives or public officials.
Professor Bani Pichana.
This is Kathy Mutlatana on the National Briefing.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons, right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mweketi.
Tweet at SAFM Radio and at Bridget Masinga.
All right, it's 10 to 2 o'clock, and we're catching up with Dawn Robertson, who is a visitor and creative economy catalyst at Josie My Josie. We're talking Main Street Sundays, which is bringing Joburg to the Walkable Network action. This Sunday, the 12th of April, Main Street in Marshalltown is being closed to traffic and open to the people of Johannesburg, as Main Street Sundays invites everyone to experience the inner city differently. Dawn, you catch me chuckling because, you know, I've got a memory of an elephant. And I said to my producer, I recall having this conversation with somebody recently, and I know who it was with. It was with Sibusiso Mkwanazi, who was telling us about Main Street being closed on the 12th, something to do locally. How are you, Dawn?
I'm well, thank you, and thanks for having us on the show today.
Thank you for the time. All right, so let's talk about this initiative. It's being led by Josie My Josie in partnership with the Johannesburg Inner City Partnerships and the Young Urbanist NPC. What's happening on the 12th of April?
So on the 12th of April, we're closing Main Street to cars, and we're opening it up to people. And we've divided the street up into 6 or 7 different zones. We've got a kind of a Zen zone, which is down at the old Anglo-America building, where we're doing things like meditation and yoga. The Silent Book Club will be there. The Urban Sketches will be there. And as we move east up the road, we've got different things. So we've got an art, food and design section, where we've got over 20, 30 activations around different creative activities. We've got a whole music setup happening near Sadie's restaurant. We've got a maker's market. We've got a children's section where we've brought the whole of Play Africa Children's Museum down into the streets. And they've got the most amazing activities, all kind of fun, creative and educational activities for young kids. We've got DJs up in the East End near Capello's. We've worked with all the restaurants to come out onto the pavements and to offer special meals, cheaper meals, etc. But we're inviting people to come down, you know, bring your bikes, bring your scooters, bring your babies in their prams, bring everybody, the gogos with their wheelchairs if they have to, and just come and play in the streets with us. So it's really about, you know, people who can still remember what it was like when you played in the streets.
Yeah.
So long as you were home by the time the lights came on in the streets, it's that. We doing teaching kids traditional games like hopscotch and tug of war and three pins. But it's all happening in the street, in Main Street.
I mean, it sounds like the perfect day out, a good old neighborhood block party, which is something that I think the inner city is built for such activation, but also Joburgers need to get out from behind their high walls and their neighborhoods and their suburbs and come back to a sense of community.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to do, is to, get people who are too scared to come into the city to be brave enough and come and see how safe and clean and how amazing Main Street is, but also people that live in the city. To get them to come out of their high-rise buildings and come into the street and just, grab your board games, grab a blanket, come and set up, meet your neighbor, play a card game with them. Just do something with them out in the streets. Bring the kids, let them ride their bicycles, their tricycles. And we're also working with the car train. So the car train is, if you take the car train in and you get to Park Station, they're running special minibuses that will bring you straight from the station to here and take you back to the train station. But, the whole idea is to kind of clear the streets of cars and taxis and give the streets back to the people. So our hashtag that we're using is Reclaim Our Streets. Take them back.
This is something that you're bringing to Johannesburg with a few strategic partners and really fitting into Main Street Sundays. For our listeners who aren't familiar, can you give us also just a little bit of background around Main Street Sundays?
Okay, so, it's part of a global movement around open streets. It happens in over 400 cities around the world. We're partnering very closely with young urbanists who actually close Bridge Street in Cape Town on a weekly basis and do this type of thing. But we're also partnering with other people in the city. The city is very much our partners, particularly the Department of Transport. Joburg Tourism is showcasing the Makers Market. We're working with Joburg in your pocket. And a very big partner is Johannesburg Inner City Partnership. So they are the team that lead what we call the walkable networks in Johannesburg. And the main walkable network, Arterial Road, is Main Street. So we're actually popping up on probably the most prominent walkable network in the city. And we hope that if this one goes well, because it's a pilot, that we'll be able to go into other streets within the walkable network and do a similar activation.
I mean, I'm hoping that it's a great success, even if it's just, Maine that consistently does it. What do they call it? First Sundays, last Sundays. It's a great thing to get people back into the city. Get people activating the city again. And hopefully we can sustain this initiative for the long term.
For sure. And like I say, we've got 50 different organizations that have come on board and are activating the streets. So from cycle clubs that are doing 10 kilometers rides across the city and then landing up in Main Street. We've got skateboard organizations. We've got a whole range of different creative and design organizations. So, we're creating the platform or the canvas, and then communities are coming to activate this. So organize it, but we also want families. When families just to gather everybody, gather the neighbors, it's free. There's safe parking. Come down, spend the day here, play in the streets, support the local restaurants and food outlets that are kind of doing special things on the day. And just have a wonderful 3-day out. We deliberately made it in the middle of the month, so, when we at Salty Cracks time, here's something that you can come and do that's absolutely free and fun for the entire family.
Definitely a millennial making reference to that salty cracker commercial. Just by way to reinforce some of the logistics for our listeners that are curious, because I think anytime we activate the inner city, people always think about the logistic of, how do I get there? The traffic, is it safe?
Yeah. So we are working with Gautrain, like I said. So if you want to really leave the car at home, catch the Gautrain, come in. The minute you get to Park Station, there will be minibuses of Gautrain that will take you directly to Main Street, and coming back home, they will take you back to the station, right? So that's one option. The other option is we've got Standard Bank's parking, and it's on our website and on our social media platforms. Where that parking is, it's very safe, it's got security, you can get there, you can park, your car will be very safe. There's marshals in the street that will lead you across the road into Main Street. And there's lots of free parking because it's Sunday and the streets are empty. So there'll be lots of street parking, but we've got all our security partners on board, to make sure that everybody's safe. We've gone overboard, unnecessarily overboard. But we want people to feel a sense of safety. We want to show you that it is safe to come back into I'm standing in the middle of the street now on my telephone talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the middle of Main Street, and I deliberately do it, particularly when I'm walking people up the street to show them what we're doing. Because they're like, put your phone away. I'm like, no, it's fine. This is a secure area. It's absolutely secure. It's going to be safe. I mean, you've got to dodge a few cars, taxis, and the red bus. But, on Sunday, the red bus will be on the other side of the road. It's also doing routes. It's also part of the activation. So if you want to make a day of it, you could actually book a red bus ticket, take your family on the red bus tour, land up in Main Street Sundays, and take them back to wherever.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, lots of different options, but we really want to encourage people to come out and to join us.
Wonderful stuff. Dawn Robertson, thank you so much for the time. Hopefully we'll see some of our listeners there on Main Street in Marshalltown, pushing all the way through to Gandhi Square. It's happening on Sunday between 10 and 5 o'clock. Hopefully the weather also plays a ball and we have a good day not too hot, not too windy. It must just be perfect so that we can come out with all the little ones and have ourselves a grand old time. 2 o'clock really, 2 o'clock. I think my mind's already on the weekend, I tell you. It's 2 o'clock. It's time to catch up with Jolani for the top of the hour news.
Thanks, Bridget. Top stories: Asawa TMPD Deputy Chief to return to the Madlanga Commission at a later date, and the DA gears up for its federal Congress this weekend. Good afternoon. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini will return to testify before it at a later date. The commission has adjourned its hearings in Pretoria. Earlier, Dlamini confirmed that suspended Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi had approached him to seek assistance with tender documents relating to his brother's security company. Dlamini detailed his links to Nkosi as Advocate Sandile Khumalo laid his evidence.
Did you know that Mr. Nkosi is the owner or has interest in Ngapesheya?
Yes, Commissioner. Sergeant Nkosi approached me to assist him as I indicated earlier on.
Assist with what?
With tender document.
For Ngapesheya?
Yes.
And he told you that it's his brother's company?
Yes.
The 10 suspected illegal miners arrested in Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga are appearing in the Graskop Masjid's court. The Zamazamas, who are illegal migrants, were found in possession of gold-bearing material and tools used for illicit mining. They are facing charges including illegal mining and the contravention of the Immigration Act. Last year, a number of undocumented foreign nationals from Mozambique and Lesotho were arrested and gold-bearing materials as well as equipment seized in the same area. The Democratic Alliance's Van Horn says the Mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill Lewis, and the Citibank caucus leader, Spusiso Gyonase, both have the potential to help the party to achieve a majority in the upcoming local government elections. The DA has confirmed that preparations are on track for its 2026 Federal Congress in Midrand in Johannesburg this weekend. Horn says both candidates have a strong campaign message.
I have seen their offer, and it's quite clear that in the run-up to a local government election, both of their immediate focuses are to ensure that we position ourselves to achieve, hopefully, majorities in more municipalities than ever, and to get things working in those municipalities where we govern. In that sense, of course, Jordan has the perspective or the record of leading success in local government, while Sibusiso, of course, comes from the Vaal region, which is deeply dysfunctional. And in that sense, it's also quite clear that he has a perspective of having lived through those government failures in a sense that makes his message also equally credible.
Some ANC regional leaders could be excluded from mayoral positions as the party embarks on its mayoral candidate selection. The ANC has embarked on the selection for councillors and mayors, with the process set to be finalised by the end of June. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula says they will invite members of the public to submit names of their preferred candidates. He told the media in Boksburg in the east of Johannesburg that they would headhunt the best brains to lead metros and secondary cities.
The ANC will embark on an intensive national process of identifying and headhunting capable mayoral candidates from across society. This includes professionals, community leaders, and individuals with proven leadership track record and governance capability. This approach deliberately expands the pool of leadership beyond our robust internal ANC processes. In line with the ANC's commitment to deepen democracy and rebuild public confidence, the movement will open a window for public submissions to propose individuals they believe possess the requisite qualities to serve as mayors.
And government is commemorating the 33rd anniversary of the assassination of struggle icon Chris Hani in Kwaggafontein in Mpumalanga. Hani was shot dead outside his home in Dawn Park in Boksburg on April the 10th in 1993. The attack had been widely seen as an attempt to derail South Africa's transition to democracy. The commemoration is being held in Freedom Month. Speaking during the commemoration, President of Contralesa, Kgosi Lamek Mokoena, raised concerns about ethical governance on the continent.
If Ubu Chris was still alive, what was he going to say about
about the toothless African Union, where some leaders will go to the extent of amending their constitution just to remain in power. What was he going to say? You know the answer. What was he going to say if he was still alive? By again the toothless United Nations.
Recapping the top story, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini will return to testify before it at a later date. The commission has adjourned its hearings in Pretoria. For SAFM News, I'm Jolani Tulo Mwepe.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I still feel like 16, wide-eyed and full of dreams, thinking about what can be, what can be. Wish someone else would pay my bills, give me a pill for all my ills, to a bank account, deposit 100 mil. I just feel like I'm in crisis. Nothing's wrong, just don't know where my life is. Going on 30, but nothing suffices. Tryna be happy with the life I live, setting up for future kids. But I need strength nobody can give, so I'll just wait. I will be patient and hear what you say. When there is trouble coming my way, down on my knees, hear me, Lord, when I pray. I will be patient, I'll patiently wait. Patiently wait. I've been comparing this and that, counting other people's money and fell flat on my face. I should be further than where I'm at. I wanna make my parents proud, invite them to shows in front of an actual crowd, people singing my songs out loud. But until then I'll wait. I will be patient and hear what you say. When there is trouble coming my way, down on my knees, hear me, Lord, when I pray. I will be patient, I'll patiently wait. I will be patient and hear what you say. When there is trouble coming my way, down on my knees, hear me, Lord, when I pray. I will be patient, I'll patiently wait. I'll patiently wait. Patiently wait.
Technically, there's a part of me that doesn't want to share the information that was just shared with me. Because if I tell you now, then there won't be any tickets by the time I'm done with the show. So Greg Holman was telling us that they actually had lined up a performance with Manana as part of the 50th celebrations. Upon announcing it, it was sold out immediately, and then they added a second date, and that was sold out immediately. And obviously, we just had a conversation with him a couple of days ago on the back of his receiving the Standard Bank Young Artist Award in Music. Now that has been announced, the third date has been added, which is also selling out quite quickly. So if you want to catch him at the Market Theatre, that performance is running from the 17th until the 19th of April at the Market, and it's titled Mending Broken Hearts. And he said during our conversation that it's his love letter to South Africa. So hopefully third day will not sell out without myself securing a ticket. We also are inviting you to share your thoughts on a book that you will never give away or that you would never borrow to anybody, and perhaps some of the reasoning behind it. This is, of course, as we get into a conversation with Siwela Langeni. Feel free to send me a voice note on 061 410 4107. Would love to hear from you as to what is that book that is sitting in the shelf at your house or in a box at your house that you will never ever give away. Perhaps you've even gone to it, to revisit it a number of times, or maybe you just read it once, but it imprinted itself in your soul so deeply that you never want to give it away. It could be autobiographical, it could be a memoir, it could be nonfiction, it could be whatever, really. How are you doing, Siwela?
I'm good, thanks, and you, Bridget?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for the time. Much, much appreciated. I mean, before we even get to the scheduled program of discussion between you and I, perhaps just to gauge from you the book that, has endeared itself to you that you'd never give away or even borrow.
There are so many. When I was given this brief, I was like, where do I start? But I narrowed it down. There's a book by Mamunoli Tafagude, Boardroom Dancing. I think that book I'd never give away. If I have to, I'll probably offer to buy for that person because I felt so seen when I read that book, especially somebody also navigating corporate South Africa as a woman and these corridors that can sometimes be so unforgiving and confusing. I just landed on that book. I've made so many notes. It's got those sticky things for quotes that I go back to. I just loved how she navigated being in such a highly masculine space, but maintaining her femininity and her truth in what needed to be done. And also during that transition, post-BE, they were one of the first leaders. So I think that's a book that I probably won't give away because I go back to it a few times, even in my career now.
Yeah, and what a wonderful human being. What a phenomenal woman.
Absolutely.
She's been so gracious as to physically grace our show on 2-3 occasions to speak to all the facets of her. And it's always been a wonderful conversation indeed. Boardroom Dancing. Okay, I'm putting that up on my list, and I'm definitely going to do the most. All right, let's get to our chats today with Siwela Langeni, co-founder of Book Circle Capital, and of course author in her own right of Making Friends with Feelings. Let's talk about, that's the book that you won't give away, and I'm presuming it's also one of your number one books. But last night, you hosted Dr. Nomzamo Mashito, one of our favorite individuals. What was happening?
I'm still reeling from that talk, Bridget. We spoke about the book when it came out, and you've then since had him on the show. I've seen so many things and podcasts, which I was telling him yesterday that, we send him strength and love because he's just doing the most and making sure that he's everywhere on this book. So, we were supposed to finish like at 8, but we were still talking
just before 9. Nobody left. Everybody was there, just leaning in and listening to his words about, culture, how this is not a zero-sum game, because often people, when they see that title, they just assume that he's saying that let's stop what we're doing for girls because we are leaving boys behind. He's saying no, it's not a zero-sum game. We need to do it all together. It just makes sense. It's like you don't necessarily have to agree with him on every point, but you could relate when he gave those stories. One of the things he left me was the words we're saying about men amongst ourselves, even as girlfriends at a brunch, over mimosas. What are things we're saying about men that are wrong, which we know? Because we know, people will say all men are dogs, but we know that's not true, because you've got men in your life that are not that. But why are we allowing that? Yes, there are isolated pockets. There are those people that are doing this, but it's not a blanket statement. And by professing those words over people in our lives, that's also not helping. What are we saying about if you're unhappy with your spouse in front of your child, about that child's father? He left us with so much to think about, so much.
Absolutely. I mean, a phenomenal human being, and I think bringing a conversation that's been bubbling in the trenches to the surface and to be had in the most honest and most raw way. So if you haven't gotten the book yet, Dr. Mzamo Mashito's book is This Country Hates Our Boys, and it is available at Book Circle Capital. It is available at wherever you get your books. And what I love about him is on a deliberate book tour as well. So if you are a book club and you want to invite him, you can absolutely do so.
He will be there. The people that came with him had to drag him away. He was still wanting to address each and every person. They were like, but we need to go.
The true spirit of Dr. Mzamo. Let's look at this week's titles, because you've also brought us titles this week. 3 more books to add to our list.
Yes, we've got more of a fictional feel. Remember last week we did everything non-fiction. So this week we have a fictional feel. So we Inherit the Fire by Kagiso Lesego Molope. It's a new introduction by Penguin Random House, where it explores a mother-daughter relationship. We've discussed this before. It's set against tumultuous end of the apartheid era in South Africa in the late 1980s. Teenager Kelelo, is forced to leave her mountain school for a newly desegregated school in town, where her identity as a daughter of a celebrated freedom fighter, Kiwame Malaka, makes her an instant curiosity. Classmates see her as a symbol of progress. At home, she struggles with a mother who's, emotional and reachable, based on what she's been through. She's been in prison because of the struggle. And so much has to be resurfaced. So as this mother and daughter navigate a shifting political landscape, this book interfaces their voices to reveal unspoken words, buried histories, and complex inheritance of resilience, pain, and responsibility that binds and divides generations of Black South African women. So that's We Inherit the Fire.
As you're talking about this book, Siwela, I'm thinking in my mind, and I know I'm probably very wrong, that I haven't come across very many fictitious stories that are set in the direct backdrop of apartheid South Africa from the perspective of the Black experience. I'm thinking when you engage, for instance, West African writers, particularly Nigerian writers, they talk a lot about that transitional time. They write a lot of fiction around that transitional time and sort of their intersections of Nigeria and London but I was trying to search my mind and I'm like, maybe I just haven't picked up one.
I think Nick Nsongo does a lot of that a bit. He talks about that transition, but you're right. It's not something, if we get a story like this, it's a real story.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily in a fictional sense. So, but I know in a lot of Nick's short stories and novels, he talks about that time and the switch, the then and now, and the generations, and how they're trying to grapple with the change.
All right. And next we have Because I Love You by Joy Watson.
By Joy Watson, yes. Joy Watson is a book editor for Daily Maverick, but she's also a feminist researcher and writer.
This is also a work of fiction. I liked this introduction. It says, I was here. This happened, and it mattered now. It mattered, and now I'm ready to carry on. So this book is not about breakups. It's about erasure, about the quiet harm that can live inside love, the kind that doesn't have bruises on the skin, but rewrites the architecture of your mind. It's for anyone who's wondering whether they were overreacting or too sensitive or too much or too little. Anyone who has asked, am I the problem? Joy is excavating the female psyche that traces inner lives of three women, Zara, Mira, and Tuli, and their stories which unfolds with beginnings, middles, and endings that are not always clean and are interwoven with reflections from the author's own experience. So it's likely fictionalized stories to protect their identity, but because of her line of work, she would have most likely encountered these stories. So that's because I love you.
All right. I mean, listen, I think book clubs are definitely going to be lit over winter. Definitely so, because this sounds interesting as well. I was thinking anyone who's been in a relationship where you've been gaslit, you know, or a relationship where you've had the sort of the mixture of anxious attachment and avoidant attachment. It speaks to this, because that first sentence that got you, I was here, this happened, this mattered, and now I'm ready to carry on. It's that thought that ruminates and loops itself over and over when you just can't shake a relationship, or you actually can't, you know, you want to move from the relationship, but you can't move from the relationship.
Yeah, you keep calling your friends. You're like, friend, am I making this up? You know, did this really? You almost need somebody to say to affirm that this really is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. The next book, the third book.
The last book is Love by Mpike Mushe. Mpike is a well-known also South African novelist. He published by Jacana. So here he brings us Sebastian Salt, who's an undecided atheist, 4 times married, 4 times divorced, 4 times widowed, 4 times prostituted, 4 times arrested. I thought, my goodness, okay. This is a lot. Love is his biographical voyage, bleeding crime, romance, and speculative fiction. This novel scrutinizes the beautiful and often malignant dimensions of love. Love plumbs the murkiest depths of the human soul to ask whether salvation lies at the altar of the divine, in overcoming the weaknesses of our lesser selves, or in the brief moments of romantic ecstasy. This new novel by Ntisheng is most exploratory and conceptually rich work yet. So Ntisheng loves words. He loves words. So if you're a words person and you enjoy just reading up those words, this is your book.
What a wowza. All right. I mean, listen, I'm putting all three into the To Get Around To list. It's always nice to escape into other people's stories and other people's imaginations from time to time. Whilst I still have you on the line, in fact, I want to share some of our listeners' books that the question was out there, as we asked Siwela as well. What is the one book that you will never give away, or that one book that you are much less likely to borrow to anybody, no matter how much they ask you, beg and plead? 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Now, someone has said, good afternoon, Bridget and team. Regarding the books that I'll never part with, I'll give you 3. Surely, Goodness and Mercy by Chris van Wyk. And he says, it's an absolute masterclass in writing from a child's perspective and one of the most colorful reflections on community life in apartheid South Africa. The second one is Shaga by Professor Masizi Kunene, a brilliant in-depth account of King Shaka from an African perspective. And the third one is The Whale Caller by Prof. Zeksimda, which had me rolling with laughter and just wanting more. And this is Kingsley out in Germiston. And obviously you are very impressed by these 3 books by Kingsley.
Super impressed. I mean, Surely, Goodness and Mercy I read at the beginning of the year. It's one of those books that every South African must read. I mean, Chris van Wyk is a legendary author, and we've all enjoyed his work, either through books or poems. So this
this one is definitely up top of, and the whale collar. The only one I haven't read on your listeners list is the Shaga one in the middle. But definitely an impressive list. I wouldn't also give away my Shirley Goodness and Mercy.
Let's get some voice notes as well. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. The books that are still stuck with you, that still resonate with you, that you hold on to dearly. What is the one book that you'll never give away?
Hi, Bridget. A book that I'll never give away or borrow anyone has to be Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, just because it got me through a tough time and I have like a personal connection to it. So it has my notes, my highlights, and I just want to have it in my collection for reference and just to have it there. Thank you.
Hi, Bridget. It's Jennifer from Wentworth. Bridget, I read a fantastic book one day. It was called Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them. It's by Dr. Linda, I think. What a fantastic book, Bridget. I promise you, the women that read it, they will understand what kind of a relationship they are in, and they will be able to detach themselves if it's a toxic relationship. Thank you, Bridget.
All right. Interesting. Very, and I think I've met Jenny, in fact, a few years ago in Durban. I think she introduced herself after I started here on SAFM. Your thoughts on those contributions? The first one, was it Viktor Frankl?
I've heard about this book. I've heard about this book. It's those books, like a book I read beginning this year, The Mountain Is You. You know, it's on that motivational Brené Brown type of feel, where it gets you, you know, you journal. If you are stuck with something, it gets you to reflect. And books like that are definitely hard to give away because you're even making your own personal notes. So if you're sharing it with people, because you don't want them getting that close into your head. So I've heard of that book. This one in your last one,
Men Who Hate Women.
Then you'll know how to detach. I'd love to. I've heard about it as well, but I haven't read that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. It's such a different spectrum of where people are, but this is a wonderful conversation.
Absolutely, and I think it speaks to, sort of the reading that we do at any particular times in our life, because certain books find you at particular times.
Absolutely.
And you go to certain books at times, maybe because you heard Siwela saying, get these books, and then you jot them down and you walk in, you go get the books. But then you realize that perhaps your spirit is not ready for that book at that moment. And you put it down and then you come back to it a little while later. And when you come back to it, your spirit is now open and it makes all the sense and shifts your life in such wonderful ways. Here's a book that always features, I think this book, and I don't know, Suella, maybe you might tell us. This book, I think, is probably in the top 100 book lists of all time. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes, that's a book. Even yesterday it came up in the conversation with Dr. Mzamo. That's one of the books that keeps coming up, especially for male readers, because they find it quite motivating. And we even spoke about this thing of content. Sometimes we force certain books down to certain people, but actually depending on what they like, it's what lands for them. If you're going to talk finances and you're going to talk how do I build wealth, that's something that's more likely to appeal to to guys more than ladies immediately, because it's like, okay, how do I practically do this? That book is always top 100. Similar with the Alchemist, or if you're gonna say I write what I like, also for a South African context, by Steve Biko, will always be one of those books where I remember I once even told you it was one of the most stolen books at Book Circle Capital at a certain time.
Absolutely. My producer asked me to give them a little vox prompt this morning around my two books. And I said to her, the book that I'd probably never give away is the collected autobiographies of Maya Angelou. I grew up in that era of when Maya was still alive and the Oprah show was still at its height. And so you'd hear Maya all the time. And I started buying her books. You start with one and then you move on, Cage Bird, and then you move on. And then I realized that she has the collected autobiographies bound into one in chronological order so you can charter life properly. And it's one of my favorite books. From time to time, I dust it off and I take it on holiday. But you know, the one book I've struggled to finish, and my team was laughing at me, I've struggled to really go past probably chapter 2 because of the sheer magnitude and volume of it, is the Che Guevara autobiography.
I would probably struggle too. Like the deep, heavy political stuff, I would also struggle. I struggle. I was once gifted a book, Steve Jobs. Have you seen Steve Jobs' biography?
Yes.
It's quite thick.
It's quite thick.
So that's a book that also I haven't been able to venture, but maybe somebody who's into tech and so curious about, the evolution and his story starting from the garage to the big Apple brand that we know it to be, maybe can tell us a different story.
Absolutely. There are some books that I feel, you put them on your bookshelf because it just makes you look so well read and so cultured. Yes.
Yeah.
And those two are definitely them. Siwela Langeni, thank you so much for the time. That was a co-founder of Book Circle Capital and author of Making Friends with Feelings, Siwela Langeni, for our weekly book circle. It's gone 2:30. It's time for Jolani and the headline news. Thereafter, we'll get into Kids Corner.
Thanks, Bridget. Good afternoon. Making headlines. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry says suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini will return to testify before it at a later date. The Commission has adjourned its hearings in Pretoria. ANC Second Deputy Secretary General Marupeni Ramokgopa says the life of SACP Liberation Struggle icon Chris Hani should be used as a guiding measure for political renewal in South Africa. She was speaking at the 33rd commemoration of Hani's assassination in Kwaggafontein in Mpumalanga. And finally, preparations are underway in Pakistan for the peace talks between the US and Iran this weekend. However, there is no official confirmation that either the US or Iranian delegations have arrived in Islamabad. I will have details on these and other stories at 3 o'clock.
Spar Winner Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products. Like 2 kg Spar Brown Sugar for $39.99, save 12 Rand. Or 200 gram Nescafe Gold Coffee Jar or 220 gram refill, excluding decaf, for $149.99, save 40 Rand. Price is valid from 8 till 21 April. Shop, swipe and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Wondering why 45-year-old Nivan has such a big smile lately?
Outsurance. Saved me so much money. 461 Rand.
That's right. With Outsurance, Nivan saves an amazing 461 Rand a month on his 2025 VWT Cross. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
So much money.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Get a free optical frame when you get tested at Specsavers this April. Purchase a comprehensive eye examination and get your optical frame free up to the value of 1,000 Rand. Choose your free frame from our wide range of trendy, affordable styles. Get tested today at your nearest Specsavers or book online. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello friends and welcome to Nali Bali. Have you ever looked at someone else and thought, I wish I was like them? Maybe they run faster, draw better, or have something you don't. But guess what? You are special just the way you are. No one in the world is exactly like you, and that's what makes you amazing. Comparing yourselves to others can make you forget how wonderful you already are. The best thing you can ever do is be proud of yourself just as you are. Today's story is called Sunshine and Rainbows, written by Jenny Robson. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and Winnie was a weaver bird with bright yellow feathers. She lived in the trees beside Tamalakane River with her weaver bird friends who also had yellow bright feathers. There was William, Wame, and Waruna.
We are yellow like the sunshine,
Exclaimed Wame.
And yellow like lightning,
Added William with a grin.
and yellow like the flowers of the acacia tree.
Chimed in Waruna. Winnie loved spending time with her friends. Most of all, she enjoyed singing with them. They sang when the sun came up, they sang when the rain fell, and when the wind blew. The little weaver birds would hold on tight onto the tree branches, swinging and singing.
This is fun! This is fun!
Sang William and Wame.
Up and down, up and down.
Join in Waruna and Winnie. But then one day, everything changed. That was the day Winnie first saw the rainbow bird. He was perched high on a wire and was the most beautiful bird she had ever seen. All the colors of the rainbow shone from his feathers. The top of his head was green, his cheeks were rosy red, his chest was a soft lilac, and his wings were a beautiful turquoise.
"You are beautiful, rainbow bird,"
said Winnie. The bird puffed out of his lilac chest.
I am not a rainbow bird. I am a lilac-breasted roller,
he said crossly.
"I'm sorry. That's a long name to remember, but I'll try to say it. Lilac-breasted,
stammered Winnie. But the rainbow bird was no longer listening. He spread his turquoise wings and flew off across the field. Winnie felt rather silly. She returned to her friends in the streets beside the river, but she kept thinking of the rainbow bird. How wonderful it would be to look so beautiful. Determined to learn more, Winnie flew to the baobab tree. The baobab tree was very wise. Many creatures sought his guidance and wisdom.
Why do you look so sad, Winnie?
Asked the baobab tree.
I don't want to be a weaver bird anymore. I want to be a rainbow bird,
said Winnie.
A what?
Asked the baobab tree.
A lilac-breasted,
Winnie tried to remember the rest of the name.
Oh, a lilac-breasted roller,
said the baobab tree.
Are you sure?
Yes, I've never been sure about anything in my life.
Winnie nodded her little yellow head. The baobab tree sighed a long but wise sigh.
Well, Winnie, sleep in my branches tonight. Let's see what tomorrow brings.
The tree said. The next morning, Winnie woke up as the sun rose, and when she looked down at her feathers, they were no longer yellow. Instead, her chest was a soft lilac and her wings were turquoise. She flew down to the Tamalakane River to check her reflection. And yes, her head was green and her cheeks were rosy red. Winnie was so happy.
Guys, look! Look how beautiful I am!
She called to her weaver bird friends, but William, Wame, and Waruna ignored her.
I suppose other rainbow birds will be my friends now.
Winnie thought sadly, feeling a little lonely despite her newfound beauty. Winnie flew up to the wire where the rainbow bird was sitting.
Look! I'm a lilac-breasted roller, just like you.
she said, perching beside him. The rainbow bird peered at her.
Go away.
He said crossly.
But I want to be your friend,
said Winnie.
Well, you can't. Lilac-breasted rollers do not have friends. We like to be alone. Now, go away,
said the rainbow bird. Winnie flew away and perched in a nearby acacia tree. She no longer felt happy. Being alone wasn't fun. What would she do without friends?
I know what I'll do. I'll sing. Singing always cheers me up,
Winnie said, suddenly feeling excited. She opened her beak, but no sweet song came out. The only sound she could make was...
What was that?
said Winnie, looking around. She thought there was perhaps another bird nearby with an awful voice. She took a deep breath, puffed out her rosy cheeks and tried again. But nope, the only sound that came out was... Winnie felt upset.
What is going on? What happened to my beautiful voice?
It was a long, sad day for Winnie. She was all alone and she couldn't sing. Being a lilac-breasted roller wasn't much fun after all. As the sun sunk behind the hills, Winnie flew back to the baobab tree.
Oh, dear Winnie, you still look sad. What's wrong this time?
The baobab asked.
I don't want to be a lilac-breasted roller after all. I want to be a weaver bird again,
said Winnie. The baobab tree sighed another sigh, but a long, wise sigh.
Are you sure?
Yes, I've never been this sure about anything in my life.
The baobab tree laughed. He had heard those words before. Once more, Winnie slept in the branches of the baobab tree. When she woke up in the morning, her feathers were yellow again. Yellow like the sunshine, yellow like the lighting, yellow like the flowers of the acacia tree.
Thank you, baobab tree. Thank you so much,
Winnie said gratefully. Then she flew back to her friends in the trees beside the Tamalakane River. Together they sang to the bright yellow morning sunshine, their song filling the air with joy and warmth. And so we come to the end of another Nalibali story time. Today's story was called Sunshine and Rainbows, written by Jamie Robson. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit the Nalibali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You will find stories in 11 South African languages as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nalibali Reading for Enjoyment supplement with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nalibali, it starts with a story.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
SAFM Music, good times, good memories.
I'm just lying. Somebody is fine.
Old school sounding so good. SAFM Music, with you wherever you go.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Just chatting to him about his experiences of being a learner and being a sports person at Pretoria Boys. So Seseki Itsweng, good to have you on the show. Good evening and thank you for your time. What a privilege it might have been for you and indeed for some of your classmates to attend such an institution.
I was influenced by my best friend at the time, who was a year older than me, and he went to the school, and his parents, they kind of directed me to go to that school. I'd never heard of it before, being a boy from Mamelodi. You know, you just go to the nearest school that you can. Really they pushed my parents to try and enroll me to that school. It's a big school, 1,500 boys. When you're coming from a school of 300, 400, you always have a time to shine. It's got so many different sports, arts, culture, anything that you can think of, basically, you can do.
Top Sport on SAFM. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, after much shattered hearts last year, the Two Oceans Marathon returns to Cape Town this weekend, and it's bringing thousands of local and international runners to the city. It's been described, they tell me, as the world's most beautiful marathon, and it features two main races, the 56-kilometer ultra marathon and the popular 21.1 kilometer half marathon. Normally, Ondela is a very serious voice on the show, and she's bringing us all the political and current affairs on the news. Today, though, we are talking to her about being an athlete. She would have been running the Two Oceans Marathon, but apparently you got a bit of an injury, Ondela Mbana.
Hey, Bridget, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, man. Look, I'm not running. I was supposed to run, but unfortunately, due to a calf injury, after so much training that I've been doing, unfortunately, my doctor put me off running. But I have an important job to do. Support.
I mean, listen, support is a very important job. And I think Marumo Kekani, who's a producer here on SAFM, you would agree that no athlete makes it through without a bit of a support structure.
Bridget, I'm just going to let her get away with the calf injury, and that's it. And you're not going to question more, and that's it. You're comfortable with that?
Listen, Ondela is a very important part of our team, so I'm questioning nothing. I believe her.
What you say, Marumo, you're still depending on me for support tomorrow.
No. Like you said earlier on, Bridget, support plays a critical role because you'd know that as we've been navigating the 56 kilometers in one of the most beautiful runs in the world, because we get to have all these awesome views of Cape Town, yet at the same time you're feeling so much pain because Cape Town is hardly flat, so you're going up or you're going down. So either way, you need to have put in the work. On the like she's saying, unfortunately, she got that injury, and we're working so hard. We're averaging between 70 and 80 kilometers a week. So that's what you actually have to put in if you were to be considered, or if you were to consider running a full marathon or an ultra. In this case, I'm running my first ultra. I qualified running the Soweto Marathon, one of the toughest inland marathons you could ever think of running. So we did that last year. This year now we are here with all the colleagues from all the 9 regions of South Africa who are waiting for the SABC. So we are all chilling now, just going through the emotions, waiting for tomorrow morning.
Who knew that the SABC had an official running club? But I should have guessed it. So, Maruma, you are doing the 56 Ultra Marathon.
Well, this team actually, Bridget, existed for almost over 3 decades now. We must just invite you to be part of it. Cool things are happening there. So what we are doing is at least we even get to have what we call the club runs on weekends, because it's not every day that you're able to go out and be running because these marathons are quite expensive, really. Yeah. So at least as a team, you're able to run with your peers, with your colleagues, people who are able to be true to you and advise you accordingly. That will tell you that, Bridget, we think maybe you can't be running this distance wearing those all-stars. You actually need to run with shoes, with running shoes with proper foam.
Yeah.
If you're going to run a marathon, you need to get proper running shoes. If you're going to run an ultra, you also need to get proper running shoes with a lot of work that goes into it in preparing for an ultra marathon, because anything beyond 42.2 is considered an ultra, and definitely it's not an easy thing to do. So you need to put in the work.
Yeah. Ondela, let's talk about the routes that you are going to be on. As the support structure, where are the colleagues going to encounter you, and are you going to be wearing the tutu and
So there's about 19, 20 of us, and then from that 20, there's about 5 supporters. I'd like to believe there's about 5 supporters. So what we do is scatter ourselves. Maybe one will be at the 20 kilometer, others will be at the 35, others will be at 50, and others will be right at the end. So that's how we strategize and plan.
Yeah.
Also, we hear from the runners, Guti, once their concussion at 30 kilometers or at 40 kilometers, then we will place people there.
Oh, and tell me this, Ondela. I mean, how important is it? This is not your first rodeo. How important is it to actually have that support structure? Because I can imagine that any kind of high endurance performance, any kind of high endurance sports, it's a mind over physical matter again.
True. That's true. From my experience, because I've ran, I think, 2 half marathons or 2 oceans, you know, Bridget, when you are seeing your people, all of a sudden you have energy that you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
All of a sudden your energy is revived, and at some point, because I'm a crybaby, at some point I would cry because I'm happy I'm seeing my people. So it is very important that one gets support. It just, I don't know, man, it just revives something in you. Like my roommate would tell you, because I've also been supporting these guys throughout their training as well, because I knew I was not going to run. So I've been supporting them throughout the training.
Maruma, for you, how important is it to see Ondela's smiling, encouraging face on the route?
Look, Bridget, you know, it's one of those things. The one thing about running that I've realized is that it's one of the sporting codes you can do and feel so lonely amongst hundreds of thousands or thousands of people around you, because you may have 5-4 teammates, but the actual work is done by you. So after having run 25, 26 kilometers, and you see on the ladder screaming and with your energy, that gives you a spring in your run. You know, like, of course, know that 2 runners that you need to be part of have passed, or you are in front of them. So at least at this pace, you're doing well. You're likely going to finish in this time, because there's also those technicalities in it, because you need to run and avoid being close out of finishing the run. So you need to forever be keeping up with time. So at least when you come across on the line, will tell you that, look, you're doing well. If you are here at this time, it means you're likely going to finish at such and such a time. So you're able to now start reviewing your run again on the second half of that part, because the second half of 2 Oceans Marathon is the most brutal run you could ever think of. So now when you meet such people and they have your energy boosters with you, then they're able to tell you that, look, you being here this time, it means you've done so well. Keep that work. Either you reduce or you down your speed a bit in order for you to be able to finish nicely as you get to the UCT later on the day.
Yeah. Oh, I've driven past UCT. That route is not the one. So I can imagine when you're running it, it's definitely not the one. As we wrap it up, Ondela, you get a pass for this year. But I'm hoping that since you got a pass for this year, once you are healed, you then start preparing for the 56 Ultra for next year.
Bridget. I don't see myself doing 56. 56 is crazy. No, but you know what? With runners, I know even then, when they started, they said, I'll never run 42 kilometers, I'll never run 56 kilometers. But look at them now, they run 90 kilometers comrades.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe I hope, I'm not too certain, but I hope one day I'll do 42, I'll do 56 kilometers. But of course, that requires one to do intense training, not just physically, but mentally as well.
I have all the faith in you because you know why? You spell your name S-H-E. Thank you very much. Ondalambana, it's a pleasure.
You should come join us.
No. That was Ondalambana, SABC News anchor, and of course, Marumo Kekane, SAFM producer. They'll be out at the Two Oceans Marathon in Cape Town this weekend. So if you do see them, please give Marumo some encouragement and give him some cheer along the way. Ondela will be the lady that's running and screaming and jumping and most likely wearing SABC regalia. Wishing all the runners, a friend of mine as well, Ayanda Maile, is flown back into Cape Town this weekend to do the 56 Ultra Marathon, and our spirits are with him also from this side of the country. So to all the runners that are endeavoring to finish the Two Oceans Marathon, may it be your best one yet. We've got a few moments, so we are going to double back to some of your favorite books. And we've got one here. Hello, guys. Honestly speaking, I don't read books a lot, but the last book I read was Nothing Left to Steal by Mzilikazi wa Afrika. And this is from Notorious Mabelane in Sigagula village in Mpumalanga, in Acornhoek in Mpumalanga. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and voted number 9 in the best books of the 20th century. Oh, interesting. A very controversial subject matter. I had to detach myself and reimagine the main character. Linguistically, it has no equal, and this one is from Tabang. Lolita is the title of that book by Vladimir Nabokov. So we'll put it in titles that we should read in this lifetime. Do we still have more voice notes on this matter? Okay, we've archived some of those for another time. That is where we leave it now. We're going to make way for Ashraf Gada to come through and take over with the National Pulse. I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. There is lots to do. Obviously, if you are in Joburg, you can go down to Main Street for that day from 10 until 5 o'clock. Main Street being closed to any kind of vehicle traffic. And it's going to bring you arts, music, culture, food, design, igniting the inner city in Johannesburg. And of course, if you're on your way to Cape Town with your family, to go run that Two Oceans or to go support a loved one as they endeavor to do that. I hope you have a great time and take lots and lots of pictures, tag us and share with us on social media. Let's see all of that hard work coming to fruition. I actually saw a tweet just the other day that said, what you do in private always shows up in public. Reading shows up in conversation. Your workouts show out in your physique. Your diet shows in your energy. Your discipline shows in your confidence. Your focus shows in your results. You are what you cultivate when no one else is watching. So enjoy the rewards of what you've been cultivating for the Two Oceans Marathon. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
SFM, playing your music.
This is how it should
Well, I hope you enjoyed all of that. Next up, of course, is the National Pulse. To get us there, SFM News with momentum. Those with financial advisors have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum-accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context. The news at 3 with Jolani Tulo Mwepe coming up.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories: Asawa, disruption of some hospital services in Gqeberha, and preparations are underway in Pakistan for the peace talks between the US and Iran. Good afternoon. The Eastern Cape Health Department says an unprotected strike at the Doranginza Hospital